Hello, and welcome to Project Pixar. This time with what I believe is our 16th Pixar film, came out in November of 2015, and that is The Good Dinosaur. Noah, how are you?
I'm good.
Dinosaur.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, well, let's jump right into it with who is your favorite character. I'll go ahead and take the lead here if you don't mind. And I will choose Spot. Spot, the dog, or human, if you will, is very endearing. You know, he doesn't ever say a word, but I mean, who doesn't love a dog? Everyone just likes a dog type character, and that's exactly what he is. Basically, is a dog. Sometimes a little too much. Like the parts where like he starts actually panting, going with his tongue out. It's like, I don't know if a human would still have done that. Like that was like, get it? Because he's a dog. Yeah, we got it. He's a dog. But he's very endearing. You know, I really don't know how to say much more other than just that he's your faithful companion, and he's loyal, and he's everything you could want him to be. So it's Spot. What about you?
My favorite character is, I'm going to choose a side character.
Ooh.
It's going to be Butch, the T-Rex.
Butch. Oh, is that the one voiced by Sam Elliott?
Yes, I was going to say the single best casting decision in this movie was making Sam Elliott into a grizzled old T-Rex.
Yep.
That's just about perfect. I love the growl of his voice, and him like one of my favorite moments is him telling the story about, you know, his scars and stuff like that, and I love that character. I love the way they pulled it off, and I wish he was in more of the movie.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I drowned him in my own blood.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our favorite characters. I think I know that this movie probably isn't like super high on either of our lists. So what's your least favorite part?
I do feel like this film could have had better antagonists. The pterodactyls are an interesting idea, what they were going for, but they're not in it very much. So when they show up back up at the end, they're there, but there isn't like a great build up to them being there. They just kind of show up, and it needs a better antagonist. And overall, the story it's predictable. It's a lost return home journey type kind of story, and like the frontier type kind of story, classic frontier type, which is fine, but again, it's pretty predictable.
Yeah, that's fair. So mine is kind of basically everything having to do with him getting lost. In particular, like when his father dies, I just don't know if this story needed that. Like if he's going to get lost and be separated anyway, why did his dad have to die? He wasn't going to have his father figure there anyway. And it's always kind of bothered me that his father dies in this storm, and Arlo himself also gets washed away, smashes his head on a rock, but like he lives, he's fine. But his dad, who's like 3 times his size, or 4, he can't survive it. So, and in particular too, I was noticing that the logic of this really bothered me. When he gets washed away so far downstream that when he gets on top of this big plateau, he can't even see Clawtooth Mountain. This is a mountain. This is what looks to be the biggest mountain in the area. He can't even see it. He's that far away. He has to travel for God knows how long before he can finally see it again. And, there's this scene after he sees it and he leaves the T-Rexes and he's running along the riverbank, like screaming at the birds with Spot. Mm-hmm. And that river is docile. There's no current. And I'm just like, how on earth did he get swept that far downstream? Like I don't know. It just really, because again, you have to think about how far away that is, that you can't even see.
You have them trying to go thrashing the entire way down a docile river.
I mean, seriously, I was just like, how did he not get washed ashore on that big? And from what they make it out like, there's really only this one river, because that's the theme, is like, you got to keep an eye on this river and that'll take you home. So I was just like, good God, like this. I mean, this guy got washed away as if this was America. Like he's in Minnesota and he got washed all the way to the Gulf of Mexico down the Mississippi. Like, good gravy, man.
Who knows, man? I think that he was in Montana.
Right?
If I were to, so
yeah. So that would be the biggest hang up I have with this film.
Geography. That was your biggest thing.
It's the geography. It doesn't make any sense. Okay. What about some standout animation for you?
Yeah, it is a man. Okay, so the biggest thing that they touted going into the film was the landscaping and like the geography.
Yeah.
And oh, man, those were really photorealistic environments. It's pretty incredible. Like you would think that it was almost like they shot it in a real life location and then they put in the CGI afterwards, but no. The whole thing was CGI. It's just it is an insane jump in quality from what we'd seen before. So kudos on that. They really did hang their hat well on that promise. There is one moment, like you were talking about it, where he is running along the river and like all the birds scatter and stuff like that. Just the pure volume and the amount of birds and just how each individual bird is animated, and yeah, that was a cool moment.
Yeah, that's beautiful. The two that stand out to me the most is, it's a tiny detail, but it's when his father is watering the grass and the way he like spits it out like a sprinkler, and it kind of does this faraway shot of him like, I don't know, there's just something like that gave me a little like warm feeling about, oh, it's an animal but it's shooting it out like a sprinkler. And then beyond that, I have to mention, this movie does have some pretty good atmosphere and ambiance, and it's right before the storm hits at the end, and it's when the pterodactyls are circling above, but it looks like shark fins. So,
Yeah.
but it's up in the sky, so it's like you get these shark fins coming down, just cutting through the clouds, and then they start to circle. Like, yeah, that I think is a really cool moment. So those would be my choices.
I'm pretty sure you remember the time that we saw this.
I do. So first time memories.
Together.
Noah and I saw this together as well. He was here with me in St. Louis, and we had a great time. I think there was 2 more people with us, at least one. I can't remember if Jackie was there or not, but so we were there, and man,
I thought it was just us, but maybe not.
I thought we had more with us, but either way, man, it was a great time. It was funny. It might be the most I liked this movie was the very first time I saw it. I think my opinion's lessened on it a little since then. And maybe it was just because seeing it with Noah, because, man, when it gets to the drug scene where they ate the berries, Noah and I were...
We were actually laughing on the ground.
Yes.
We had both fell on the actual ground on the floor in the movie theater, and we're laughing. Everybody in the theater was silent besides us, and we were just losing it.
Well, and you know what's funny is since I've seen it since then, it doesn't really even make me laugh that much. But that first time, like, I don't know if it was a chain reaction between the two of us.
Because it was, especially when they switched heads.
Yes.
With the goofy faces, that was when we I
lost it.
Whew.
And like his tongue is like the other guy's face inside of it. Yeah, that was... like I said, I haven't laughed that much since then, but that first time, man, Noah and I were dying.
That might be the biggest laugh I've never like fallen out of my seat laughing in a theater. Yeah. And I did. We both did for that moment. Like that was wow.
Yeah. And needless to say, a very memorable experience seeing it in the theater.
Very memorable. Yes, absolutely.
That's great. Okay, so next we have our musical moment, and I don't know if there is one for me. Like, I couldn't hum you any of the score. That being said, there are moments I remember it, like, it supporting the scene very well. In particular, I really do like the parallel of at the start of the film when you see the shadow of the dinosaur walking and it's his father, and at the end of the film when he returns home it's his shadow walking, and I remember the music like supporting that really well. But beyond that, I couldn't really give you, like, I couldn't hum you anything, so that's kind of where I'm at on it.
It has again that very frontier westerny type kind of vibe to it, which again, like you said, suits it well. But besides that, yeah, I couldn't hum you anything from it. It's good. It suits it well.
So what is a favorite dialogue, line, or joke you have for this film?
So this movie has a very dark sense of humor for a Pixar film, that's one of the things that stands out to me. In some of the designs are really like odd. The chicken, when it first showed up, I thought was hilarious just because it's so weird looking. I thought that moment was really funny. When Spot bites the head off of that bug that he kept, that too, like just that dark humor. But as far as like lines go, I liked the when they meet the Triceratops guy, and he's talking about the different animals on his horns that he has, the collector, and he says, "This is Fury. He protects me from the creatures that crawl in the night. This is Destructor. She protects me from mosquitoes. This is Dream Crusher. He protects me from having unrealistic goals. And this is Debbie." Like that line was really fun. Just really, yeah, just. In fact, I think there is a little musical cue there for like, that's really funny to me. I also, from a sentimentality, I do like the way Jeffrey Wright delivers the line, "You are me and more." Like when he's talking to Arlo, just about how Arlo wants to be his dad, and that's his response. That's a good line.
Mine is, it's not actually spoken dialogue, which, to be fair, like this film is hardly Wall-E or anything, but I remember before we saw it, a little clip of the director came on, and he said that his goal with making this film was that his mother spoke a different language, and so he wanted to make a film that it didn't really matter what language you spoke, that just through the visuals you could take in the story. And I do think he succeeded, if that was his goal. And I love this moment. I think it's honestly a very strong moment, and it's when the other humans show up at the end, and he gives spot to those humans. He doesn't say a word. There's no words exchange. It's all action, and it's a great callback to the circle when he pushes him in and he draws the circle around him, and it's such a nice callback to when they're there on the beach and they make the circle to show their different family members. And again, that scene, they don't really use many words there, so even though, again, it's not really a spoken line, it's that little sequence, and what they are saying words that we can all hear and understand, even if they're not vocally saying them. So I've always...
Isn't there a line in that? There's one line in there, isn't there? Yeah, I think. Doesn't the dad caveman go, "What year is it?"
No, that doesn't happen.
Oh, okay. I'm confusing Jumanji.
Yeah,
okay,
you must be, because that would be a very different scene. He just grabs Arlo and just smacking it back and forth. Goodness, this guy, you're funny. Okay, so that was our favorite line or so. What would you change about this film?
Like Brave, this is one of the Pixar movies with the most troubled behind-the-scenes developments. I think it did change directors. It originally had like this idea of being an integrated society with dinosaurs and humans, and how that would work out. I think it was like a modern setting. So imagine the way that the Flintstones used dinosaurs and like animals and stuff, but like in a modern setting. I think that's what they were going for, and they scrapped that. I like what they came up with. I do appreciate it. It's not as original as some of the other Pixar films. The design aesthetic of the dinosaurs doesn't mesh very well with the photorealistic approach to the landscape and everything. I think that's one thing that I think most people would turn to and say, I don't like the way that looks too cartoon, like too kiddish. If they changed it to where the dinosaurs were more realistic looking, then you're turning it into more like Disney's dinosaur. So maybe that isn't the best way to go with it, but I think there might be some middle ground they could have went with. I don't know if the design per se worked in their favor.
Yeah, that's fair. So I'm going to use this segment to kind of talk about just some of the things I don't like about the film, because there's not like a standout, if you change this story beat or you change this element. There's a lot about this film that's just weird. Like you said, the designs of the dinosaurs, I don't know if they're supposed to be brachiosaurs or they're just their own type of dinosaur. Like they got these really knobby joints on their knees. And I feel like I got
knobby joints. Oh God.
I feel like I've got arthritis just looking at them, and they got these big toes. And, some of the stuff, while it's kind of cute to see like, see, they're the humans of this time because the meteor missed them. Part of me is like, how on earth did they set up any of this stuff? They don't have thumbs. Like, I get they have mouths and long necks and all that. The religious kind of cult of the people who are of the Eye of the Storm provides, it's surprising, but also just strange. The dinosaur you mentioned, the big Triceratops, he's very weird. I appreciate the play on expectations with the T-Rexes, that they're actually like the good guys, and they're these cattle rustlers, and then you've got these like raptor-looking things that are cattle rustlers, which is again kind of funny, but also just kind of strange at the same time. So yeah, the whole movie just has this very weird vibe to it, and sometimes it works in its favor, and other times you're just like, huh. And I really liked it the first time I saw it, but as I saw it more and more, like, and it wasn't fresh, I was like, there's a lot of like down parts. It's kind of slow at times. So yeah, I don't know. But again, I don't know if there's like a singular way you fix that. I think it's just kind of a strange movie.
When I rewatched it again, it takes a long time from where Arlo like washes up on the shore after getting swept down the river. That's another weird thing to me too, is why didn't he also get swept away down the river? And just if it's gonna have the same beat of him getting washed away, why it builds up more with the Spot and him and the farm and everything like that, and it being in a bad shape. So I get it.
All right, so closing thoughts, and I kind of gave mine. Like, I do still ultimately like this film, and it's kind of funny because, again, there's parts of it I think are genuinely good. The lack of communication, using the circle to describe family is very good. There's some moments that I genuinely feel unsettled. Again, when the fins come out of the clouds, or the first time you see the human and he's just this kind of like figure in the distance, it gives me this feel like, oh, what is that? Like there's this feeling of, I don't know what I'm going to run into. So there is this kind of sense of danger. Because you got the Triceratops, and that's something it does well, is between the Triceratops, the pterodactyls, you don't ever really know who's going to be a friend and who's going to be a foe. So anytime a new element introduces, it does a good job of that. What's going to happen here? I'm not sure. But as we said earlier, it's also just kind of weird at times and kind of has some logic gap inconsistencies. So I mean, overall, I do like the film, and I think it has some strong moments, but it's still much lower on my list than most other stuff.
I think that this is probably the most clear black sheep of Pixar. That's the way I would categorize it.
That's fair. And that used to be Cars, but obviously this came out much later, so...
That's the thing about black sheep. It's not always bad, or necessarily, it's just different.
Yeah.
Very different. Not that people, it's not like maligned like Cars can be, per se. Some people don't really care for it, but... yeah, I think it's still a good movie, and I do recommend it, but it is strange.
Yeah, agreed. All right, well, we will see you next time in 2016 for our sequel, Finding Dory. In the meantime, take care and make sure to put some lotion on your knobby knees. See you later.
Oh, Lord.
Bye.